We didn't play great, but we should have been up 9, and we make a bad defensive blunder to end the half and gave them an uncontested 3, which is a bad play. And then we got it. What did we get it to 11 in the second half, and then after that it was all them after that. But give them credit. I mean, they're tough, they're strong, they're old. They don't get rattled or poised. I mean, they don't get rattled. Didn't lose their poise, and we didn't do anything to make any plays to, really get any momentum to where we could, string together some good possessions in a row. We were hoping we could score, and they were actually running offense to score.
Chiefs.
There's challenges. We'll go through them, and we'll always put our best foot forward. Certainly want to do what we can to try to keep both those players, and that's going to be our goal and intent. Hopefully, we're able to figure something out. But every free agency is different, unique, and crazy. And so, but we do have one tag, and I anticipate probably using it to help us. But I think our goal is to try to get both those players done and then work down the rest of our roster.
It's the first time that you have a chance to kind of meet the guys, sit in front of them, talk to them, see how they handle you, and how they handle your coaches. I don't really care about the workout stuff as much as I care about it. We have that all on tape, but be right there with the kids, sitting 6 feet away from them, and be able to talk to them and kind of quiz them through things, I think is a good introduction, at least, to the player.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's Wednesday, February 28th, Hump Day. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty with Jake Gutierrez. Today on the show, we'll talk to Mike Boddicker. He'll be in studio with us. Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com will join us live from the Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. Damon Bethea will be on the show with us to talk some college basketball. And Scott Sharp, there we go. Scott Sharp will talk some baseball with us. We had Scott Sharp on throughout the season last year. It was up in the air whether he would agree to be on with us this year, just, because of who we are. But surprisingly, he said yes. So, well, and wow, it's... I enjoyed talking to Scott Sharp last year anyway, but it'll be nice to be able to have Scott on, assistant GM of the Royals, to talk about a whole bunch of positives with the additions made to the roster in the offseason, the extension of Bobby Witt Jr., the reshaping of the bullpen and the starting rotation. A lot of good stuff there. So... a little bit of everything for you. How about that? I will say this. Kansas City weather is stupid. My experience this morning was ridiculous. And so I'm just going to throw this out there for people that have not gotten in the car yet, okay? Most of my drive today was just fine. But in the past, in my experience, when there is snow or there's ice or bad weather, if I think there's going to be any difficult conditions on the ground, so there's two ways you can go to work from my house on Berry Road. So, 29 to 635, to 35, 35 to 69, 69 to 435 to Metcalf, and then Metcalf right into work. That's the quickest way. But there's a lot of, there's a lot there. There's a lot of negotiating the highways and everything else. So if it's icy, it's a more difficult drive.
Yeah. A lot of lane changes, right. a lot of exit ramps.
And more people.
Yep.
Okay, everything. Exactly right. And so it takes a little bit longer, but when the weather's bad, I like to catch 152 right by my house, and go 152, go 152 west to 435, and then take 435 all the way in, past Legends, past everything else, and then just take 435 all the way to Metcalf. It's a straight shot until you're going 435 south until you hit 435 east and then to Metcalf. So so if there's ice or snow, it's a simple drive, fewer people out, and and usually the roads are in great condition. Okay, so I get up and I'm checking out the Twitter, and I don't know, about 4 a.m. or something, I would say, the National Weather Service Twitter account tweeted, "We are receiving reports of some icy roadways and a few accidents this morning across portions of Platte and Clay counties in the Northland. So take it slowly out there." I said, "Oh, that's me," because I'm right there on the border of Clay and Platte. And so I said, "Well, let's go." And so I'll have plenty of time, and I'm gonna go 435, and the minute I get on 152, I'm like, mistake. It's a sheet of ice. And everyone's driving about, 20, 25 miles an hour. But even with that, I left plenty of time where it wasn't going to be, I could, drive to work 30 miles an hour. It wasn't an issue. So I'm taking it slow, take 152, get on 435, going south. And for people in the Northland, this is before 45 highway, where you got the station, the big gas station that has good burritos. Anyway, sorry. In no way has anything to do with the story. But as soon as you get on 435 from 152, before you get to 45, right off the bat, there's a couple of cars and a couple of 18-wheelers that are pulled off to the side because it's too slick or the ice is too bad, right? And it was like a sheet of ice. Oh, geez. And then I look on the other side, going northbound. It looked like an 18-wheeler. I could just see the lights, but a big truck had just gone off the road, and I mean off, to where I could just see maybe the top of it, the lights. It had gone off, and hopefully everyone's okay. And I think a tow truck and some emergency vehicles were just getting there, okay? I said, oh, geez. And everyone's going real slow. And so the first exit you're going to hit is 45 highway. And I'm starting to get there, and the police have 435 closed, blocked off. And I've never seen, at least there, no matter how bad the weather's been, 435 has never been closed. And so I get there, and this is like now, well over an hour ago. It's closed. I'm like, now what do I do? And everyone's getting off on 45 highway, and then all these 18-wheelers, they don't know what to do. They're getting off, and so they're pulled off when you get off onto 45. They're pulled off on the side of 45 because they're, especially just passing through, like, okay, what do we do now? And so I'm like, well, I'm stubborn. Like, I could just turn around and go home and do the show from home, but I don't want to because I've showered. I feel good. I'm out. I want to see everyone. I want to, whatever. And also, if I get back on 435, that truck had just gone off the road, so I'm thinking, watch, I'll get back on 435 and try to go home.
It'll be stuck.
And I'll get stuck there. Yeah. And then I'll be, so I'm not, thankfully my mind was working enough for that. So I said, screw it. And so I just drove, 45 through Parkville, through the National, which there's some hills there, baby. Yeah. And it was
big
icy.
Hills. And
so all the way through there until it turned into 64th Street, and then caught 29, which apparently is the way I should have gone to begin with. I outmaneuvered myself.
How you gonna know?
Right. But I got on there, a little bit of ice, but then within by the time I get on 635, nothing.
Nothing.
There's nothing. And so I'm like, 435 was a skating rink. So if you happen to go that way, just be careful. And hopefully they're adjusting it to this point. I'm looking on Twitter. The only thing I've seen was Jamie Weiss from KNBC tweeted that there's a possible overturned vehicle at 435 in Woodland. But I haven't seen anything else. But I mean, the 435 was shut down, which I was like stunned.
Yeah.
And so now all these, it was there had to been like 50 cars that were all like, all right, which way do we go?
What do I do?
What do I do now? Well, now what? So be careful out there if you're in that area. And
North half of the city sounds like.
Well, just if you have to drive that stretch of 435, everything else was pretty good.
Okay.
But like on Berry Road around the side streets, it was icy. We heard the ice, hitting the windows all night long, and so we anticipated. And I'm lucky. I start my car with my phone. Technology. And so it was nice and ready to go. I don't park in the garage. Our garage is used for storage, which is a whole nother story. But I'm good to go. I go out there, and but I could tell it was slick. But then it was like 152 and 435 where it was shut down was like I felt like I transported from one. Well, I actually kind of did from one city to another. It was like, what the hell just happened? And I still haven't found out why it was closed, but hopefully everyone's okay. But I did see one vehicle was off the road and everything else, and people trying to figure out what to do. So that was an interesting trip that normally takes me 30, 35 minutes. Took a little over an hour. So I did some driving. I did some music listening. Jake said, always says, be sure to listen to Smalls. I don't know.
I just learned today Smalls is from St. Louis. So
yeah, see? Well, that makes it even better. That explains a lot.
Yep.
How did you learn that?
She said it.
Oh.
Exhaustive research, I mean. Yeah, I was looking because when you called me to tell me about the traffic, I was looking to see if there was anything on Twitter about it, and I saw that same tweet. Is that like 435 past 96th Street? Is that the one? Is that close to you? Or I don't know where that I don't know my numbered streets on the Missouri side as well. But I'm glad you made it here, buddy.
Yeah, I was just confused. I was freaked out. I called you. I called Jake and said, I don't because then over there I didn't know how bad. I said, is it like this everywhere?
We got a few flurries last night.
You know what I mean?
That's about it, right, Jay? I mean, I don't think we got much at all.
I said, is this going to be an ice rink all the way? And then halfway to work, it's like all good. Like there was nothing.
But
clearly the
changed.
Northland got it.
Yeah.
Cold, but no real precipitation. It's flurries and it's snowing, nothing stuck. My ice bath was a little icy. So.
Yeah, I bet.
I'll bet.
Well, I got an ice bath already, so I'm good.
The temperature change yesterday was one of those days. If you live in Kansas City long enough, you know that there are days like that. But this one was like even extreme for Kansas City standards.
It's ridiculous.
It's brutal.
I saw this from the National Weather Service that the max temp yesterday was 73.
Oh, it's beautiful out. I mean, I had coffee on the patio.
When we went to Sporting KC's Media Day, they had all the players lined up outside to do interviews with, and they were sweating.
Yeah,
because it was hot out. And then the low last night, it went from 73 to 19.
Yeah.
So 54 degrees is tied for the fourth largest temp change in one day in Kansas City history.
And it was like 5 degrees with the wind chill.
So it's wild.
So those are spots, and so if you're out there in that area on 435, be careful. So we got a whole bunch to talk about besides the bizarre weather in Kansas City. KU drops a home game that ends their 19-game home winning streak. They lose to BYU. And so any thoughts of the Big 12 championship or a share of it that's gone? Man, just bizarre. So we got that to talk about. And even though Kansas lost, that's not the headline. The headline is all the buzz of what's going on right now down in Indianapolis for the scouting combine and with the Chiefs. And all the talk about Chris Jones, but more specifically L'Jarius Sneed. And also, it's not a headline, but a portion of the show will be dedicated to what is now an extremely talkative McCole Hardman. And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I sent you many a clip, Jake Gutierrez, of McCole Hardman talking about everything from Taylor Swift to Travis Kelce's leadership to why the New York Jets were such a train wreck. I mean, he's letting it all hang out. Which, you know what? When you, again, the story of McCole Hardman, when you have an injury that you think might take football away from you, and then you come back, and then you go via free agency to the New York Jets, and that place turns into a dumpster fire, and you get a chance to come back to Kansas City, and then you make mistakes, and people are mad at you, and people don't want you even in the game, and then you turn into one of the heroes of the Super Bowl. You pretty much say whatever you want in the offseason.
Right.
You know, you're living the good life. Because that was not, I don't think very many people had that on their bingo card of McCole Hardman, Super Bowl hero. You can say, oh, well, he's wide open. He caught a walk-off touchdown in the Super Bowl, also caught a bomb from Patrick Mahomes. He was a factor. And so he's talking about pretty much everything. So we'll play plenty of clips from McCole Hardman. But what got everything going was a tweet from Jeremy Fowler from ESPN, which reads, Chiefs have informed L'Jarius Sneed they are prepared to use the franchise tag and are open to consummate a trade-off if no long-term deal is reached, per source. Sneed is agreeable to the scenario, giving him a chance to talk with other teams while KC remains in play. And I know there are plenty of people that are upset at the idea of trading L'Jarius Sneed, and I get it. L'Jarius Sneed has turned into a fabulous player. But it's the right thing to do. Number one, they're going to examine the possibility of signing a deal that would work for both sides. Okay. And if something like that works out and the Chiefs keep him, great. That's great. Then the Chiefs have kept together the best cornerback duo in the NFL, and if they agree to it, then it's something that they feel like they can live with, and it's not going to prevent them from having a complete football team around Patrick Mahomes to chase a third championship in a row. And if he signs it, then he's happy with it too. Now, if they can't figure it out, right, by putting the tag on him, which is over $18 million, you got to have the room for it, and they do. You tag him, and then you can negotiate and see if there's a deal to be made, and if there's not, then it gives him a chance to maybe not test the free agent waters, but to at least find a spot that would be someplace that he could get the money that he wants, and he'd be happy, and then the Chiefs would get compensation. And so then everyone wins. Now, if there was no salary cap to deal with, if there was no other contracts you had to deal with, if it was a perfect world, would you rather have L'Jarius Sneed than a draft pick? Of course you would. He's one of the best corners in football. Draft picks aren't a sure thing. But that's just, you can't keep everybody. You have to walk on some people. You have to make tough decisions. It's a tough decision. It's not an easy decision. It wouldn't be an easy decision to let L'Jarius Sneed go, even if it's the right decision, even if it's a decision that makes good business sense, it makes good financial sense. It's still a tough decision because this is a guy you drafted in the fourth round and you developed into one of the best cornerbacks in the league that came up with big play after big play throughout the season and came up with one of the biggest plays of the entire Super Bowl run by forcing that fumble in the Ravens game against Zay Flowers, preventing a touchdown. and helping the Chiefs win that football game. Nothing changes that. But, and I know we've gone, it's interesting, we've gone back and forth on this. But to me, now that the season is over and my emotions are not running high, and I sit back and look at it from a reasonable perspective, or as reasonable as I could be, and I love L'Jarius Sneed, don't get me wrong. You know, he got that dog in him. He's a stud, right? He's one of the toughest players in the league, too, on and off the field. But if you ask me, who do the Chiefs have to keep? Who is more important to a run to the third straight Super Bowl championship between Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed? It's Chris Jones. And for me, there's no debate. There's zero debate. Part of it is because Chris Jones has shown over several years that he's elite and he is amongst the best at his position. Number two, there's just so few players you could even compare it to Chris Jones. Number three, he is an absolute game wrecker. If you think about the plays that he has made over these last several years, the footballs that he batted down in the first Super Bowl win over the 49ers, the sack that ended the drive against the Bengals with under 2 minutes left, when all the Bengals needed to do in that second AFC Championship matchup against Cincinnati, all they had to do was drive to kick a field goal to win it. He had the sack on third down, sacked Joe Burrow, and gave the football back to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs won it. And then you think about that third down when the Chiefs had to get a stop against the 49ers. Who blew the play up? Chris Jones. How many times did he just blow a play up where nothing else matters? Play can't even get started because Chris Jones dominated his guy, got in the quarterback's face, got his hand on the football, got his hand on the quarterback's arm, whatever. He's a game wrecker. And there's just not, if Aaron Donald, you can compare Aaron Donald to him, but I mean, Chris Jones is just, he's a man apart. He's just that dude. And on top of that, and look, L'Jarius Sneed, I think he leads more. He's not as much as a vocal leader, but he leads by action. And he's a tough player. He brings an edge to the defense. He adds that personality of toughness. And so none of this is said to demean L'Jarius Sneed and his importance to the team. But Chris Jones, just watch NFL Films Mic'd Up of any of the Super Bowls, and especially this last one, and you see the vocal leader that he is. And you see how much he means to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And you see how much he means to the young defenders and how they look to him in times of trouble. And how he was the one that gathered everyone around after the 49ers scored on that trick play. And he's telling everyone that, that they still got this. And him and Spags was, hey, look, they had to use a trick play to score on us. They can't beat us straight up. They can't beat us man to man. We're better than them. And that's how it turned out. For all of those reasons, and again, I'd love to keep L'Jarius Sneed. And I hate that it sounds like I'm saying, I don't, if you're forced to pick, the answer is Chris Jones. And also, Chris Jones has made a lot of money. L'Jarius Sneed has yet to get paid. And as soon as you saw him, what morning show was it on? Who's the young lady that you're not a fan of, Jake?
Kay Adams.
Yeah, he was on her show.
Up and Adams.
And what was the comment?
Pay me.
What would you say to Brett? Pay me. You got to pay me.
Pay
like,
me.
oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Pay me.
Yeah, but he knows he had a fantastic year, and it's time to get
He
paid.
deserves it.
He deserves it.
He's earned it.
But he's coming from a different place than Chris Jones is. How much money has Chris Jones made already?
Over $90 million.
Okay. How much has L'Jarius Sneed made already?
4.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay.
That's over $80 million in difference.
We'll check that. I'm not going to.
Quick math.
I'm
quick
not.
maths.
I'm not here to.
Yeah, we're not math majors.
I'm not here to
I'm
do
not
any
a math
figuring
guy.
for you. But you're coming from a different place for your L'Jarius Sneed. Okay, you got to get paid because there's no guarantee in the NFL
Right.
that you're going to have that opportunity again where you just had a career year and it's time to get paid.
Yep.
Chris Jones has been paid a few times handsomely. L'Jarius Sneed now gets this opportunity and he deserves it. And so just looking at those basic facts, the odds that the Chiefs can figure something out with Chris Jones seem far better than them figuring out something with L'Jarius Sneed that'll work for both sides. And then you get the comments from Brett Veach yesterday. You get the tweet from Jeremy Fowler, and then you get the comments from Brett Veach. And yeah, we got a franchise tag, and we're probably going to use it. And then you find out, yeah, they're prepared to use it on who? L'Jarius Sneed. And it's smart business.
Yep.
It's smart business. And look, it's hard. Hey, these Super Bowl championships, you fall in love with players. But it's what it is, man. You have to make tough decisions. There's times that you have to walk away from a player when they're at their peak, but also when their value is at their
Yes.
peak. And you can go out and do something. You can go out and make something happen and keep things rolling. And so I anticipate the Chiefs trading L'Jarius Sneed. Now, trade value, this will be fascinating to watch. I saw some people tweeting wild. You said a first and a fourth round pick, and I was like, I don't know, man. I saw people out there, we don't get 2 first round picks. I go, dude, if you're stand down. If you just adjust your expectations. You know what? And the Chiefs have been on both sides of this in recent years. They franchised D Ford and then traded him to the 49ers for a second round pick. They traded for a guy that was franchised. Tag and trade in Frank Clark. And they gave up a lot. But I would tell you both those things worked out for the Chiefs.
Yep.
Both those things worked out pretty well when it comes to winning championships. And so we'll want to hear from you guys. I'll hear from Nate. I know Nate's on board with this. He's excited about this. Hear what Jake has to say. But more importantly, we'll hear Brett Veach and Andy Reid. We'll hear more comments. And then we'll hear Nicole Hardman, who's just setting everyone on fire. He
Yeah,
don't care.
baby.
He's ready to let it loose.
Let's go.
And then Nate said he's going to talk for 20 minutes straight about Kansas losing, which I said, it's a lot. You don't have to do that, but, if you
Yeah, I
want
think
to.
we have a lot of soccer content that we
Yeah.
can do today
Yep.
instead of talking basketball, really.
You bet on that game last night?
No.
We went live betting in the second half or
I
nothing?
thought about it.
Yeah, I know you did.
I thought about at one point in time taking BYU plus 9.5
Why didn't you?
because
That could have been a big, big win for you.
I know.
You
but
regret that, don't you?
I was just staying away.
You regret it?
I was just stepping back.
That bothers
No.
you, doesn't it?
No,
That
A lot, but
yeah,
no.
yeah, that's right.
No, I'm good.
We'll be back after this on WHB. Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I think it's Rich Cimini or Rich Cimini who covers the Jets for ESPN. He did this bulleted highlight of everything that McCall Hardman said yesterday with Ryan Clark. It's not funny if it's your team, but he said, Hardman said he refused to return punts versus Kansas City because he felt the special teams coach Brant Boyer had misled him about the punt returning job in camp, and that he didn't have enough time to prepare when asked on the night of the KC game to step in for Xavier Gibson, who had tweaked an ankle a few days earlier. Hardman said he was dealing with his own injury, a hyperextended pinky that made it tough to catch. He said Robert Saleh tried to convince him to do it, but Hardman said he told Saleh, I'm not catching for that man, meaning Boyer, the special. And then Hardman candidly admitted that by that point, I was so checked out, like it was over with. I'd already talked to Veach and Pat, like, come get me. 2 weeks later, he was traded back to KC. That is maybe something you don't want to admit. That reeks of tampering or something. I don't know if
Veach was like a new phone. Who dis?
I already talked to Veach and Pat, like, come get me. On why it didn't work out with the Jets, Hardman said, it's the lies and the way they handled me. I didn't like it at all. He made it clear that other than Garrett Wilson, he felt like he was as good or better than every other wide receiver on the team. And then on the Jets culture with Nathaniel Hackett.
Oh, boy.
You just got a new offensive coaching staff that came in, and there's no standard. Everyone does what they want to do. Granted, the defense has more of a stabilized standard with the coaching staff on that side, so the defense has a standard. But the offense is just like, we'll just figure it out. It's Aaron's show. Let Aaron do what Aaron does. Then when Aaron goes down, it's like, we don't know what to do. That sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Would you
And
disagree?
Aaron's show is the perfect way to put it, right? Because
Right.
it's a show. Like, he's got to be out there getting his attention.
And then there's like immediately the part about talking to Casey's GM on the contract should be looked at. There's no permission. There's people. So then McCall Hardman, like at midnight, so I got up at 2 a.m. and was looking at Twitter. I couldn't sleep. McCall Hardman retweeted that and said, "Never had talks with KC before the trade, so we can clear that up. The Jets handled my trade on their own and did the right thing by sending me back to KC." So something tells me perhaps McCall Hardman may have gotten a phone call from Brett Veach, which led to a late night tweet from McCall Hardman after midnight, clearing that up. So that's all.
Take it out of context.
Let me clear this up. All right. Speaking of Brett Veach, you want to play there for me, Jake? By the way, do you like those highlights from McCall Hardman?
Love it.
It really,
We can play those here
right.
in a little bit.
But I mean, do you hear anything like, oh, there's no way that's true? Sounds like everything's true.
Spot on.
I was like the idea that
Sounds like somebody was there.
that Sunday night football game against the Chiefs, they want him to return punts because I ain't catching balls for that man.
That sounds functional.
Yeah, it sounds great. Robert Saleh's like, come on. No?
Kadarius Toney basically said the same thing in a different way.
Right.
I'm not catching balls.
Right. But he
For
was,
any man.
He was trying. So I just, hey, again, McCall Hardman, it's his world. We're just living in it.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Brett Veach. Will this be Brett Veach talking about Chris Jones? Here's Brett Veach yesterday at the Combine talking about Chris Jones.
I mean, we're going to, just like last year, with Chris and with LJ, with a lot of our players, we get a chance to meet the agents this week, and he's at the top of the list. You know, love Chris and tried really hard to get something done, and we didn't. But when we got together right after that Detroit game, we had a great talk, and, you know, both parties, I think, want to be here. So we'll get to work, and, you know, that's certainly a guy we want back and love and want to see him finishing in his career here in Kansas City.
All right, let's hear Brett Veach now talking about more about Chris Jones and also L'Jarius Sneed.
That's always a stress. You'd like to be able to tag all the guys and pay all the guys, and it's tough because the more you win, I mean, the more you got to pay players, and obviously when you have this amount of success, you're paying a lot of players a lot of money, and then it's equally as tough because you're drafting late. So there's challenges. We'll go through them, and we'll always put our best foot forward. Certainly want to do what we can to try to keep both those players, and that's going to be our goal and intent. Hopefully we're able to figure something out, but every free agency is different, unique, and crazy, and so, but we do have one tag, and I anticipate probably using it to help us, but I think our goal is to try to get both those players done and then work down the rest of our roster.
What do you guys think of that? Nate Bukaty, Jake Gutierrez, any reaction to what I said or what you heard Brett Veach just say?
Well, as you know, I've been a fan of the idea of trading L'Jarius Sneed for quite a while because, look, I'll remind everybody that Trent McDuffie is on this team because the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill. You know, and that was a trade that worked out for both teams. Tyreek Hill seems to be happy, at least with the football part of things in life.
Well, he may not be happy right now. We have a story about that coming up. And
Rasheed Rice also. I mean, they used one of those picks that they got for Tyreek Hill to move up to get Rasheed Rice.
I'm shocked that Jake hasn't mentioned the Tyreek Hill story yet.
The headline is something. It's an
Right.
eye catcher.
We'll get to it, but I'm just
It's an eye
I'm just
catcher.
stunned
Yeah.
that he has his.
Yeah.
Want to mention this? So
Yeah.
we'll get-
Right.
I feel like I want to
Take
save
care
that
of
one for
himself.
save that one for Boddicker in here.
But I'd say that Trent McDuffie's pretty good. You know, that worked out pretty
Wow.
well. It doesn't mean every single pick.
Don't go on.
Hey,
Give us some
man,
more player evaluations.
I'm here for the hot takes.
Yeah.
This all-pro guy, he's
Yeah,
pretty good.
Pretty good, pal. You know, you mentioned that you can't keep everybody. One of the tough parts, it's what makes the NFL great, is they hamstring you when you win. It gets harder to keep players, and one of the reasons it's harder to keep players is because people want guys that are on winning teams. They think you're a good player if you play on a winning team. So your stock gets elevated, and then you can't go pay them all. As you said, Chris Jones is already making good money in terms of his cap hit, so you keep him, and it doesn't change much. L'Jarius Sneed's cap number was like $3 million last year. So if he jumps up to 19, that's a huge difference on the Chiefs' salary cap from a year ago to this year. The positive that you have, to me, so the downside is, okay, all of our players become more expensive, so we can't afford to keep them all. But the positive is all of these players become valued very highly because L'Jarius Sneed's a great corner on a winning team. You know he's a winner. So somebody's going to want him. If D Ford fetched a second-round pick, come on, man. You're going to get at least a second-round pick for L'Jarius Sneed. He is such a better football player, and a guy's going to help you win so much more than D Ford.
But what was D Ford thought of it? I mean, we think of that now. Do you know how much they paid D Ford? That's the sign of what you think is. You know how much I'm just telling you. You know how much they paid him?
I don't remember.
Take a wild guess, because that's the indicator of what you think of a player. How much you pay him?
Like for his full contract?
Yeah, well, no, he had to sign a contract when he
Yeah.
got to San Francisco.
Yeah.
yeah. What do you
I
think?
guess like a $5 million or five-year deal for like what 36 guaranteed million or something like that.
It's over 5 years, $85.5 million.
It was ridiculous.
It was,
And that's stupid.
Yeah,
I mean, and maybe they just didn't watch him as closely as we did, but he's a decent player, D4, but he's a one-dimensional player.
Nate Taylor says in his story in The Athletic, if the Chiefs were to engage in advanced trade discussions for Sneed, they would seek at least a second-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that should be at least like bare minimum because and hey, every year is different. Maybe there's a team that was desperate for, but you compare what kind of player L'Jarius Sneed is to what kind of player D Ford is. It's not even close.
Second and a fifth, something like that. Second and a later round pick.
But you go out and by the way, man, you guys have always been bigger fans of the draft than me. How could you not enjoy watching the NFL draft as a Chiefs fan these days, considering the picks that Veach has pulled off over the years? Like, I want him to have as many picks as possible. So yeah, I think they're handling this perfectly. It's exactly what they should be doing.
We'll take a break. Back after this on WHB. Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty with Jake Gutierrez. Mike Bodeker's also here. Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just watching some of the Mel Kiper's combine stuff. So the mock draft.
That's right. No, he has J.J. McCarthy going to number 12 overall to the Broncos.
Broncos, yeah. I love the mock drafts. I think that's one of my favorite things in football is the draft and figuring out where everybody's going.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Sean Payton's comments were kind of funny yesterday. He said, we're going to decide whether we're going to do with Russell Wilson next week, and then in the same comments, he talked about the next guy.
Right.
We're going to make sure the next guy is the right guy, though.
Yeah.
But we're going to decide next week what we're going to do with Russell Wilson.
So here's the headline about Tyreek Hill that Jake was referencing.
Was I?
Tyreek Hill
Do some blocking and tackling?
is getting sued by a plus-size influencer alleging he broke her leg during football drills after she was holding her own against him. That's right, huh?
I'm trying to picture that in my
Are you
mind.
intrigued by this?
Oh, yes, I
Would
am.
you like some backstory?
Yes, a little bit,
Okay.
Steve, please.
Sophie Hall. You may not be familiar with her work, but on Instagram she has 2 million followers and countless more on other social media platforms. She is this self-proclaimed Americanized Brit's messages of body positivity and loving you for you have clearly resonated with a large segment of the public. And enough so that she attracted the attention of one of the best players in the NFL, Tyreek Hill, for a private audience at his house and a personal session of doing what he does best, teaching the game of football. But things went wrong. So this is according to a source. NFL superstar Tyreek Hill broke a woman's leg when he charged at her with crushing force during a backyard football lesson, according to a lawsuit obtained exclusively by DailyMail.com. Influencer Sophie Hall says the 29-year-old Tyreek Hill felt humiliated when she managed to hold her own and even knock him backwards during a series of practice drills at his Florida mansion. The five-time All-Pro retaliated by rushing at Hall and knocking her to the ground with such ferocity that she needed reconstructive surgery and months of therapy, it's alleged.
Well, the Chiefs need a tackle, right? I mean, if she can hold her own against
Right.
Tyreek.
Well, he's not really rushing the quarterback, but
Well, I mean, he full force.
It says her complaint states, after getting humiliated in front of friends and family when he was knocked backwards during a friendly football lesson by his friend Sophie Hall, Tyreek became enraged and forcefully and purposely shoved Ms. Hall, severely fracturing her leg. Hall claims the speedy wide receiver started sending her flirtatious Instagram messages a day after she enrolled her 10-year-old son in the Tyreek Hill football camp last May. The curvy OnlyFans creator says the Gridiron Star refused to believe she was 6'1", 3 inches taller than him. So he flew her to Florida on June 28th and invited her to hang at his $7 million mansion
Just so he could see how tall she was.
just outside Miami.
You can't make this kind of stuff up, Steve.
Hill invited Hall to participate in offensive drills with him. Hill told her that since her 10-year-old son played offensive line, she should practice that position as well. Hill asked his guest to adopt a defensive line position and encouraged her to rush at him as if she was chasing a quarterback. Ms. Hall did as instructed, and on contact with the defendant, caused Hill to be pushed backwards, garnering laughter from the witnesses present at the time, including the defendant's mother, sister, friend, and trainer. Apparently embarrassed by his loss of stability as a result of contact by a woman during the football play, Mr. Hill's attitude changed and he became angry. For the next few plays, Hall was instructed to play offense, hiking the football to an imaginary quarterback, while Hill became a defensive pass rusher. On the third play, Hill rushed through as Ms. Hall held her own against Mr. Hill. The blonde TikTok star didn't fare so well on the fourth hit. Hill charged into her so violently and with great force, resulting in significant and serious injuries. So, there's also some text messages have surfaced.
Oh boy.
So, what are you laughing in there for?
What the hell? I mean, really? What the hell are you doing?
Right. What the hell?
I mean, there's two sides to every story, right?
Yes.
Usually 3.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
Yep.
apparently, in one of the text messages, he let her know that he's been known to be a good stepdad. So, offering those services.
Well,
Didn't he just get married?
hey man, different people have different definitions.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
No
if you
comment.
watched Hard Knocks, it
No comment.
showed it.
We'll be right back after this on WHP.
Clock at 10 seconds and ticking. In the shotgun, Mahomes. He runs and he throws.
You know.
Clock at 10 seconds and ticking. In the shotgun, Mahomes. He runs and he throws.
You know I'm gonna be wide the fuck open.
Nah, well, it's for man though. Like the play is designed for man-to-man coverage. The 49ers didn't play man right there. They was in zone, actually. So when that play come in.
Hey, so got Church right bunch, F, shuttle, Tom and Jerry right, yellow. Orange, let's go!
Theoretically, you want to see who's if they're like, you know, if they're on you, if they pressed on you or whatever. Because obviously they gotta run around. But when I went in motion, nobody came with me at all. So I'm like, okay, it's going to the running back. but thank you, Nick Bosa, for blowing up the backfield. Because it was going to the running back. If y'all ever see the play, the running back fakes the handoff and come back around. And you just toss it to him, and he it's like a touchdown. We ran it a few times before. It's like a touchdown, but when I did the shuttle and I came back out, Mooney, the corner 7, he didn't go to the flat. I'm like, I know I'm finna be open for sure. And then literally I just looked, and Pat looked at me dead in my eye, like, yeah, like yeah, I'm finna throw this bitch, you know what I'm saying? So I catch the ball, I knew the game over, and then literally once I like turn this way and go like this, I have no recollection what happened.
Kansas City,
like, you're a champion, you were a champ. I'm like, oh yeah, like let's go. Like, yeah.
Hold up. Let me.
The Border Patrol is presented by Walker Medical Linen Services, locally owned and operated, and HLAC certified, meeting the highest industry standards. Walker has partnerships with hospitals, surgery centers, and medical clinics in and around the metro area. Walker Medical Linen Services in Kansas City and online at walkermls.com.